Welcome, Pewter Report readers and listeners, to another edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius on a Victory Monday and
Still Victory Monday, John.
Still Victory Monday and still a mock draft Monday. Today on the show, Scott and I, PewterReport.com, we are going to be doing a 7-round Bucs mock draft live simulated for the all 31 other teams. We are the combined GM of the Bucs, though, Scott. We are replacing Jason Light in mocking and drafting this mock for the Bucs using the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. Pretty excited about it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I've always loved the draft, except when it's on my birthday, which was last year, and also in 2005. Although I did like the Tristan Wirfs gift a lot better than the Cadillac Williams gift that the Bucs gave me on my birthday, April 23rd. So, having said that, like I get the opportunity now to go ahead and play general manager Jason Light along with you. We both get to split those duties, and you and I we've got our draft boards set up for the Bucs. We've got a pool of players in every round. This should be fun, John. I'm looking forward to this. It's a little twist on Bucs mock draft Monday.
Right, and we'll kick it off with some breaking news. Actually, just seeing people in the chat commenting about it, but also seeing it on my phone here. Filed to ESPN from Adam Schefter. The Jets are trading quarterback Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for a 2021 6th-round pick and 2nd and 4th round picks in 2022. So a 2nd and a 4th is the cost for Darnold, and a 6th.
Wow.
So technically, but it seems like basically a 2nd and a 4th for Darnold basically is what it took. I'm a little bit surprised it took that much this late in the process. That's a very high 2nd. I think the Jets did very well to get rid of him for that cost.
Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, is he now the favorite in Carolina to start the season, or do you start Teddy Bridgewater and you kind of bring Sam Darnold along as the eventual replacement? I'm curious to see how this is going to pan out. And I think what it does is it certainly takes quarterback out of the mix for Carolina in the first round.
It does. You're right about that. I think that's probably the biggest takeaway. I just heard, Josh Norris is a new podcast, The Underdog Show, that he's doing.
Watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had there were some good observations in there. Charles Robinson was his guest. He's terrific. I think they laid out a pretty good. Josh had a good point that he said, if Carolina, as much as they've been aggressive for a quarterback, they were all in on Matt Stafford, they're all in on Deshaun Watson. Mm-hmm. They wanted a quarterback in this draft, and they felt like they could get him, meaning they felt like they could get to number 3 in the draft overall. They would have done it. They would have pulled that trigger and offered something to get to number 3 before San Francisco did. Basically, he's saying he doesn't think that Carolina really liked the quarterbacks in this draft other than Wilson and Lawrence. I think that's crazy. I have no idea how you trade a 2nd for Sam Darnold, given the way that he's played. But I'll say this, though, about Darnold. He's going to get Joe Brady this year. I think he's going to get an offense that for a while there made Teddy Bridgewater look pretty decent. And I don't think Teddy's as talented as Sam Darnold, more consistent, obviously. So he has a long way to go. He has a lot of growth to endure, obviously a tough division to step into. But I think that he's more of a test for the Bucs with his playmaking. If he can, again, he's young, and I think there's still a ceiling for him that isn't there. Whereas Bridgewater, he was at his ceiling. That is who he is. At the end of the day, you can solve him because you know that.
He's a backup is really what he is. He's a high-quality backup, a guy that you want to come in, and if you need him to win 4 or 5 games, he can probably help you out in that respect. But over 17 games, that's probably not ideal. And the interesting thing, John, is kind of what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. Just when you look at the quarterback mix and the fact that Tom Brady's going to be 44 this year, and what's the light at the end of the tunnel for the Buccaneers in terms of drafting a quarterback. We've heard both Bruce and Jason talk about that. If the right guy is there, they might do that in this year's draft because they're really drafting for luxury rather than need. But the thing is most times rookie quarterbacks are coach killers. And I think Matt Rule was wise to at least take a chance on a guy that might still have some upside left, that might not be wrecked, although, he struggled in New York, but at least he's got some NFL starts under his belt, and he still has some talent. And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. We saw Josh Rosen bounce around from Arizona to Miami to Tampa and now to San Francisco, but it doesn't look like that he's going to be the answer out there because they're going to draft a quarterback and they still got Jimmy G. So I applaud the Panthers for going this route. because usually when you draft a quarterback, you're drafting a quarterback for the next regime.
Right.
You look no further than Josh Freeman in 2009 was drafted by Raheem Morris, and it cost him Raheem's job, and then it cost him Greg Schiano's job too, when he couldn't develop. And the same thing with Winston, with Lovie Smith, Dirk Cutter, and then Bruce Arians finally punted on Winston after his 5th-year option.
Right. Yeah. I mean, what is this pick for Carolina? I mean, this is a very early pick for sure. Trying to remember exactly where they pick in the 2nd round, but it's obviously I think it's like 40 or something like that. So I mean, if you're the Jets, I think you feel great about the fact because you already know you're getting your quarterback of the future and number 2. If you're the Jets, I think you're feeling great about the fact that you got a 2nd rounder for him and a 4th on top of it. I think that's a really good trade for the Jets. It could be good for Carolina, obviously, but again, Sam Darnold is tricky. I would not have traded a 2nd for him because you only have 1 more year of control. Then you have to decide whether you're going to exercise his option or not. And so it's hard for me. You want to really invest an option in a guy who's looked as bad as he's looked. I know it's Adam Gase, and I completely get that. I'm very anti-Adam Gase. But I at the same time, I think it's a huge risk for Carolina. Can he be an upgrade over Teddy? Yes. Good enough for the NFC for what it is right now, and even that division before you'd have to make a decision about him. That's a big risk to me. I think that has very little odds of paying off the way that they want it to. So we'll see. We've got that's fun to start the show that way for sure. Unexpected, but fun. There were big discussions heating up today about Darnold over on ESPN. I saw. So good to get that out there and have a player off the board. Really going to make mock drafts easier, to be honest, for me.
Yes.
As we move forward. So a new quarterback emerges in the NFC South. Fun, exciting stuff. We've got a Bucs 7-round mock draft coming your way, and it's all brought to you by our friends over at Celsius.
John, it's Monday, and I've pulled an audible here. I've called an audible. I'm not doing what I usually do, which is either the orange or the orange creamsicle heat. What have you got there?
I got the strawberry guava, man. I'm telling you,
that's the new one. That's the new flavor.
I love it. It's literally one of my favorites, no question.
It's not bad. It's a touch too sweet for me, but I'm going with the Fuji apple pear. And
I had that one yesterday. That's a good one.
And the thing is, the Fuji apple pear, you might think, gosh, the sweetness of apple juice and stuff. Well, if you like the taste of apple juice without the sweetness, this is the one for you right here. And as always, no sugar, no preservatives. This gives you the energy boost that you need. And I needed one on Mondays. I'll tell you that coming off the weekend without the crash. And that's the beauty of Celsius. And if you want to find out how to get Celsius, click on those Peter Report banners, the Celsius banners on our website, peterreport.com. They're going to take you to Amazon. You can buy them in bulk there. If you want to maybe grab a can to see what flavor you like, well, you can do that by clicking Celsius.com, going there to their website, and then clicking the store locator, tapping your address. You'll have all these different convenience stores and health and fitness stores and grocery stores and places like Walmart and Target that'll pop up around you, and you can just go there and grab a can. And then once you find out which ones you like, buy them in bulk at Amazon and save some money. So great stuff from Celsius, as always.
Absolutely. We are using the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator today. We are big subscribers to Pro Football Focus and all the information and content that they have there. So we love it. We are not going to be drafting for the Lions. We are drafting for the Bucs. Scott, you can see the screen okay, right?
I can, yes.
All right, sounds good. We are entering the draft now as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right. You ready for the draft to begin? The first 31 picks ahead of the Bucs will be simulated. If you just missed it and you're just tuning in, the Bucs are picking 32nd in this year's draft. Because they won the Super Bowl.
All right. Oh, Jalen Phillips going to Kansas City right before Tampa Bay
off
selects.
The board.
So
yes.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's see quickly who's off the
round.
board. Yeah, I want to see who's off the board here.
Yeah.
And then nothing unexpected at the top.
Right.
Looks like Panthers are going tackle. I don't know if Pro Football Focus just made that upgrade. take quarterback off the board for the Mac Jones going there. So we got the quarterbacks off the board. It's Trey Lance falling to the Eagles. Wow. Okay.
That's interesting.
Yeah, corners are off the board early, it looks like, but Greg Newsome might still be around. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who is a sleeper pick for the Bucs, according to you and I think. Kwity Paye off the board, so an edge guy off the board. Elijah Vera Tucker, another one who could be a Buck if he falls. He's not going to fall in this mock. Christian Barmore off the board. Tevin Jenkins off the board, another favorite of ours. A couple tackles right in front of the Bucs. Alex Leatherwood, who could be a guard, and Cosme, who's probably a tackle.
Right.
And Jalen Phillips, obviously. So, okay. These are the best players available per Pro Football Focus, not necessarily per us that are over here.
Right.
Now, we could choose a position, a best player available position, regardless. We could just look at the board and see what our – but is there any position you want to look at, Scott, and you say, you know what, I might go best player available, but I really want to see who's on the board at this position because I'm leaning to this position maybe if I went early in the draft.
You know, I'll tell you what, I didn't see any of the top running backs. Let's take a look at a running back here because, boy, if Travis Etienne's there, and he is, and Najee Harris and Javonte Williams. Holy smokes.
Here's one of the struggles with using Pro Football Focus they
undervalue running backs.
Yes.
Exactly.
Now, I set the meter at like medium, like between what they value and what the public values. But it still ended up with 3 of these guys on the board still at this point in time. Now, here's one thing we can do. We can say, okay, we take Etienne here, but in real life, we just don't think this simulation, this particular simulation gave us a realistic outcome. We're not going to draft Etienne just for that reason. Now, I don't think it's that insane that Etienne would be off the board necessarily. I think it's possible. I just don't think it's likely, I would say.
Right. Okay. So there's a couple of ways we can go here, John, because what we do in the first round is obviously going to affect what we're going to do in later rounds, right? So, we've got we can look at this and say, okay, we can get the best running back in the draft at 32 and have that person essentially be the starting running back in 2022 once Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones move on, right? So there's one line of thinking. I'll tell you what, though, one of the guys you and I have talked about and we like is Tevin Jenkins, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma State, John. He has not been selected yet. Is that correct?
I thought he was. I think he is selected.
Was he?
Yeah, the Jaguars took him at 25.
Jaguars took him. Oh, dang.
Just before. So actually the whole tackle group, but there's a huge run on tackles.
Okay. So we have Jalen Mayfield off the board too?
I'm not sure, but Jalen Mayfield just did as athletic testing. He's still on the board.
Wasn't terribly good. Okay.
It was quite bad. Jalen Mayfield may fall of it. I don't love his tape either, but I do think he is an option. I've seen some people talk about him as an option, maybe to kick inside. I think that's where he's headed in the NFL. So that could be a Bucs bet.
Here's what I'm thinking. If you're looking for hands in the running back position, Travis Etienne is really an absolute find. He's a guy too that can help out immediately when you look at at doing kickoff returns. It's
get the ball in his hands. He can score, explosive, adds another element to the team.
Yeah. And I really think that when you look at his stats too, I mean, he had 2 crazy years with over 1,600 yards rushing in 2018 and 2019. And then you look at his junior season, 1,614 yards, 19 touchdowns. He had 37 catches for 432 yards, 11.7 a pop, 4 touchdowns. And then last year in 12 games, rushed for 914 yards, 14 touchdowns, 48 catches, John, 588 yards, 12.3 average, and 2 touchdowns. John, that 48 catches just last year, that's what some of these running backs have in their entire career.
Yeah, you're right.
What are you thinking right now?
I'm thinking one of 2 things. I'm thinking I love Travis Etienne, and I think that having an explosive home run threat type of pass catcher in this backfield could be terrifying for sure. But I'm also thinking about value of running back. They're all still on the board. You really could get a good player in the 2nd or 3rd round still. And the other guy I have my eye on is Greg Newsome from Northwestern. I've watched a couple. He's a cornerback, and I know people like cornerback in the 1st round for the Bucs. Well, let's be honest. We're putting every position on the table. We're taking best player available. That's what we're thinking about at least.
Right.
There may be some lean toward need at some point, but if we're putting best player available on the table and Greg Newsome's available at 32, which I think there's a chance he will be, we don't know what Sean Murphy-Bunting is going to be. We don't know what Jamel Dean is going to be. I think we are excited about where Carl Davis about him. I am happy with the way Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy-Bunting closed out the season, but I also recognize that they were not very good for most of the regular season. In fact, the larger sample size of last year would suggest there's concerns, at least, question marks, I would say. Question marks more than anything.
Well,
I don't want to give up on those
John.
guys. I don't think you're doing that if you take a corner at 32, though.
We saw Jamel Dean miss some time last year, right, with the concussion, and he missed that Chiefs game, the first one,
and Sean Murphy-Bunting played hurt for some of the year.
Correct.
Remember?
Yeah. So I think the Bucs. I think the Bucs were lucky that they were able to get through the year with only missing a game here or there for Jamel Dean. Listen, in the NFC South period, but really in the NFL these days, you can never have too many good corners. You do have Carlton Davis. Here's the situation, John. What happens if Carlton Davis comes out and has one interception this year, and it has a game or two like he did against Kansas City? How much do you pay him? I think you're looking at either Jamel Dean or Sean Murphy-Bunting, one of those two. Let's say you pay Carlton Davis and you make him your franchise corner, right? And then you're going to pay another cornerback because you got him coming right up the pike. Whether it's Jamel Dean or Sean Murphy-Bunting, you're going to keep one of those guys, but probably not both.
Right.
So if you have another young cornerback in the hopper, then you're not beholden to, well, we got to keep this guy because we don't have anybody else on our roster, right? And then you're making a financial mistake. I'm fine with Newsome, or I'm fine with Travis Etienne.
Yeah, no, and the other thing is to me is that Newsome's really good. Like, I'm not just taking a corner because I think it's neat. I'm literally prescribing the best player available, and there's a good chance Newsome's going to be one of less than 15, let's put it that way, probably less than 15 players for me that will have a round one grade. I mean, his tape is really good. My only concern is that it was really just this season. He's young. It's just this season. It was 6 games this season. But for every game he played this season, he was locked down. And what I like about Newsome, he can press and he can play man coverage like that. He also
6'1", 190.
Yes, he's got the size, he's got the speed. Everybody raves about the character, the football, the work ethic, the intensity with which he competes with. He tackles, despite not being a thick corner. He's a little bit thinner. But the other thing that I love, Scott, is that he's very scheme versatile. And the Bucs necessarily haven't had that. I mean, we talked about the guys they have now. They're really press man corners that have been okay. Carlton's been okay. They've had some ups and downs playing when Todd Bowles goes to a zone heavier approach. So the fit hasn't been totally smooth. Now, maybe he plays press man more moving forward after the way they played in the playoffs. I would get that completely. Yeah. I think Newsome can fit that. But if he wants to go to a scheme versatile approach, Newsome is such a good player for that. His click and close from off the ball is really, really impressive. I got some Jair Alexander vibes when I watched him. I know other people have said that.
Jair Alexander got his hands on some balls. This guy has one career interception out of 17 games he's played in. Okay,
and it came this past season, right?
It came this past season. He's got 20 pass breakups, and we saw how long it took Carlton Davis to finally become a guy that could take the ball away. All right, he had one interception in his first couple of years, and then had 4 this year. So there was some growth and development, but that's my concern is you look at his body of work, and it's a position I think a future need, and that's what the Bucs are drafting for. You can't have enough good corners. I don't mind this pick at all, but this is a situation where you're looking at a guy like Travis Etienne who had 4 years of massive production, and he's that pass catching running back. So, what do you think, John?
If it were me, I would probably go Newsome because I still ascribe to the value thing. But
listen, let's do this. Let's take Newsome. There's still some running backs later in this draft that we like. Let's see if they're there. Let's go with Newsome.
It'll leave us some options later in the draft for sure. So Newsome, and we just went corner in the first round for the Bucs spot. We are living on the edge. Anybody who comes to this podcast and says we don't live dangerously, I don't understand. We do.
Yeah.
Okay, here we are. Want to go back through? Let's roll back through the second round.
Yeah,
I regret to report, Scott, that there was a run on running backs quickly.
Of course, that was how it was.
Najee Harris comes off the board. Obviously, some others that you expect to come off the board in that round. range. You have more tackles coming off the board.
Travis
there goes
Etienne,
Etienne. There goes Javonte Williams. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that happened because I think it's realistic to expect that none of them will be on the board at 64. So.
Trask went in the second round. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there goes Trask. I guess.
Joseph Asai. Okay.
Mayfield, Asai's off the board. Okay, so we've got Joe Tryon off the board as well. We didn't have to argue. And Levi Onwuzurike off the board.
Landon Dickerson too. John. Should have traded up in the second round.
This feels very, very realistic, though.
It does, yeah. Yes.
Should have traded up in the second round, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
so
what position you want to look at? You want to look at running back? We know Michael Carter's on the board.
Yeah, let's just take a look at running back. I'm going to go through here and delete some of these guys from our board that we've already
seen come off the board, yeah.
Yep.
Michael Carter is by far the next best. Well, I guess Khalil Herbert is up here as well Kenneth Gainwell is still on the board.
Yep.
Demetric Felton, Chris Evans. Feels like there gets to a point where running back runs out pretty quick, but we do say that all the time. And then you get a couple guys in the seventh and an undrafted guy performing in the rookie seat, so it is one of those positions you have to deep scout. I have not deep scouted the running back position at this point in time. Just be honest. It's difficult.
I've taken a look at it for sure. So here's what I'm thinking. There's a couple guys that I really like here. I like Kenneth Gainwell, who's still on the board, right? Because he's that pass catching guy. I like Michael Carter, and then a guy that we both have liked and we've put in the mock draft. Let's take a look at offensive linemen real quick, John. Talking about Quinn Miners from Wisconsin Whitewater, and people might say, well, this is a small school guy. See a third rounder. Well, look, there he is right there, right? There's Quinn Miners.
Yeah. This, to me, Scott, if they don't go offensive line, and I don't think the board fell for us to go offensive line, to be honest, in the first round.
Yeah.
If they don't go offensive line in the first round, I really think Quinn Miners in the second round is kind of a home run pick, right? Like this guy he's the Bucs mentality. He's physical. He's athletic. He's aggressive. He's high character. His coach is
He's small school. He's got long hair. He went to the Senior Bowl. John, he is Jason Light's kind of guy.
I mean, no more discussion needed, right? Quinn Miners it is.
I think he's the pick. I really do.
I do too.
And here's the thing. Remember, Ryan Jensen's contract is up. He's 30 years old right now. I'm not saying Jensen's going to be over and done with, but it certainly gives you the option to groom him behind Jensen, and he could also play guard, which is where he played at Wisconsin Whitewater. So, in my opinion, I think that's one hell of a pick right there.
Right? No, I agree. I think that to me, like if you can get, and I know some people in the chat are like, man, Greg Newsome, is he that good? Don't worry, I'm going to write about him this week, and I'm already planning about it. I didn't correlate that with this mock draft, but he is good. Trust me, he is a good player. And I know you brought up the concern with the picks. But I think if you watch his tape, he got his hands on a lot of balls this year. That's a great step in the right direction. I think he has the instincts you need. I think the picks are going to come for him. His biggest thing is he wasn't targeted very often, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so then we move to the second round. If we can come away with Quinn Miners and we'll make that pick, I feel great about it. Here's another reason I feel great about it, Scott. Michael Carter ran high 4.5s, and he's like 5'8", 200 pounds. Yeah. I mean, the running back teams are not kind of doubling over trying to draft running backs at that size without great speed.
That's right.
And I think you'll see he's still on the board for us here in the third round. Here as we go through some DBs and some more offensive linemen come off the board. Diami Brown would have been maybe a sleeper.
Peyton Turner, that's interesting. Let's slow down a second. We had Peyton Turner there. He was a guy that we were going to consider in the third round, John. So he's off the board now.
Okay. Right. Yeah, he's a guy that I liked a lot as I watched his tape. Tackle off the board. Brevin Jordan. Some people are looking at tight end down the road.
Kellen Mond, that's the guy we had in the third round of our latest Bucs 7-round mock draft.
Yep. There goes my guy Cam Sample and Jay Tufeli. And Davion Nixon made it this long. Wow.
Yep. Chaz Surratt is off the board as well. Okay, John. John, got an interesting name for you here that I think you're going to continue to smile about here. All right.
Okay.
All right. So we can go running back, right? Because we've talked about Kenneth Gainwell is still on the board, and so is Michael Carter. Right. Another guy we like on the defensive side is Purdue's Derek Barnes, linebacker. This is a guy that can be a spot edge rusher, right? Because he played essentially defensive end as a junior, then moved to middle linebacker as senior. This guy is an absolute badass. He is a physical dude that would just absolutely wreck offenses Where do they have Derek Barnes ranked? They have a very low grade on him, don't they?
They have a very low grade on him. Now he just got put into their simulator though. I actually messaged Mike the other day, and Mike Renner, and I said, "Hey, do you guys watch Derek Barnes yet? Like
you're sleeping on Derek Barnes, guys."
Yeah, he was like, "I'm actually looking to watch a few more guys to put him in our last guide. So send me any names that you got." So I told him Barnes and a few others. We'll see if he adds, but so I know he's going to take a look at Barnes, and then we'll see kind of what happens. I think they just threw him in the simulator when I mentioned him.
Okay.
Well, still, this to me is, I don't know.
Here's what I'm thinking right now. We're going to game the system a little bit just because they have a low grade on him. I think we can roll the dice and wait a little bit on him. But Kenneth Gainwell is that pass catching running back that I think that Bruce Arians would absolutely love. He only had 1 year of production, which I think's why he's going to fall a little bit. And he's not the fastest guy. We've talked to John about how, that's not necessarily a telltale sign for success is 40 speed, right?
Right.
And he didn't really blaze it, but what I did like is he got up to over 200 pounds. And again,
is he off the board?
I don't think he was
he was. The Jets took him at 86. But Michael Carter's still here.
Okay, Michael Carter's still there. All right.
Well, here's the other thing, too. Michael Carter's better in pass protection considerably.
Yes.
Very good college back in pass protection. Yep. Now, I've mentioned before, I think that's critical for the Bucs in this class. Not necessarily that they have to be good at it right now or perfect at it right now, but can you be good at it in the NFL? Are you teachable in that way? And he and Khalil Herbert, actually, who are both still on the board, both have shown some promising signs in pass protection and college level and as receivers, so I think we've got really good options here at running back. If this is the point where we want to go for that pick, if we want to look at edge guys, we haven't addressed the defensive line at all yet either.
Let's take a look at the edge guys. Let's see who we have. We still have some time on the clock here, John. So
yeah, that's true. Okay. So we have the run on edge guys has happened. Yes. I think Deo Odenigbo is probably an inside guy in the NFL. Yeah. And then we are getting down here. I mean, Josh Kando is pretty much a lock third rounder. They have Quincy Roche. They just moved him even lower. So he is still on the board, but I wouldn't be surprised. Chauncey Golston, Janarius Robinson. These are they're still Jonathan Cooper. There's some good day three. I mean, Jordan Smith is a guy that you like Charles Snowden as a Bucs option later in the draft
too. Ellerson Smith. Maybe we roll the dice on Ellerson Smith in a little bit, but I think right now let's get Michael Carter. Let's get a running back that can come in and the interesting thing is when you look at his size, you think, okay, well he's kind of a scat back, 5'8", just over 200 pounds, not a very big guy, but actually he had more rushing yards than Javonte Williams at North Carolina last year. 1,245 yards, averaged 8 yards per carry, 9 touchdowns, 25 catches for 267 yards, averaged 10.7 yards per catch, and a pair of touchdowns. So this is a guy, John, that has 82 career receptions, 656 yards, averaged 8 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. Oh, and by the way, he only rushed for 3,400 yards in his career at North Carolina, averaging 6.6 yards per carry and had 22 touchdowns. Plus, he can factor in on kick returns as well. He has experience doing that. So I like the position versatility you get from Michael Carter, especially in his rookie season.
Right. We'll see how this fits up there. I am okay. Here's our picks recap. Round 1, cornerback Greg Newsome. Round 2, offensive guard Quinn Miners. Round 3, running back Michael Carter. I like this draft so far, Scott. We've done things. Now it's the trenches, right? I think we're focusing on the trenches now. I like Derek Barnes, but I want to find some more depth on the offensive and defensive lines, don't you? I mean, here we are, round 4.
If the right players are there, let's go back and see who has been selected in the 4th round here. Let's go from the top, John.
Okay, sounds good. Scroll. We've got some edge defenders still coming off the board, I think. So there goes. Here's the end of the 3rd round after Michael Carter. You saw Oso Odigizua, who's probably a D tackle, undersized D tackle. Deo Odenigbo. By the way, you and I discussed this earlier off air, Scott, but I did want to mention, I think Oso Odigizua could be another guy who they see as a versatile, maybe he could play Golston snaps and base. He could also rush. He's kind of a sleeper name for exactly right. He's kind of talk about a guy who plays with elite leverage and length in the run game. I don't know yet what's there as a pass rusher. Yes, good Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
Might be an ascending guy if he gets some good coaching at the next level.
Mhm.
He's an interesting mid-round guy for Bucs.
So we have Roche off the board there. We've got let's see,
Brady Christensen, tackle from the Giants.
Yeah.
By the way, we will go back and look at some of your comments and your thoughts on this mock. We're just kind of trying to stay on one screen, but we are going to go back and look at some of your thoughts and on the mock overall.
Demetric Felton is a guy that the Buccaneers have already had 2 meetings with from UCLA, kind of that third down back option. But I think Michael Carter is a better fit.
More complete player for sure.
Marquez Stevenson, that's a guy that I had, my eye on in the middle rounds, an absolute flyer out of Houston. A guy they can absolutely burn it up.
Right.
Jordan Smith off the boards.
I was hoping he would.
And he seems very much like a Seahawks kind of player as well. So here we are in the 4th round. Let's take.
Well, let's just see what's going on at wide receiver. Just so we know, we haven't really looked at receiver yet. I mean, there's some guys here. But
Milton Williams off the board, the defensive tackle.
I believe he is. Yeah.
Okay. Let's take a look at defensive tackle. Let's just see. Okay. It's a very weak group, and John, I'm kind of like-minded with you. There's Bobby Brown. He and Kairos Tonga are the only 2 guys I really like that are left. And
I like Marlon Tuipulotu too, just because I think it's just a safe pick to me. Like you're getting a run stuffer, you're getting a guy. Remember, I mean, Sue and Golston are both guys that are in contract years now, and you have one more year with Nacho, who's really a career backup. Yeah. So you need to have something reliable, and so I like him in that way. Bobby Brown is more upside, huge and athletic, tested well.
Yes,
there are flashes. Man, he is pretty raw. I talk about not playing with leverage a lot of the time. I definitely see that with him. I have not watched Kairos Tonga yet, so I'll rely on you for that one. But definitely some interesting names on the board. Let's just look real quick at edge defender. I think we'll come back to D tackle for sure.
Interesting that Jamin Davis from Kentucky is still on the boards, the linebacker.
I agree.
That's shocking to me.
That is probably going to be one that they're going to upgrade after his athletic testing. I would imagine he'd come off the board much earlier. Yeah. I have not seen Joshua Kano. This is where we need Mark, but Mark has not mentioned Joshua Kano one time. He's really at least said Janarius Robinson's exciting. Janarius Robinson's still on the board too. Yeah. I'd love to grab him.
There's Chauncey Golston. I think honestly, I've been just as impressed with him as I was Davion Nixon.
He's an interesting player. I mean, I think that. Will he play edge for the Bucs? Will he drop?
I think he's like that. I think he's a 5-tech. Buccaneers.
He probably needs to bulk up
about 10 pounds, but I think he can probably play at 280 and be effective. He played a lot of nickel defensive tackle right next to Nixon in those pass rushing or the 3rd and long situations for Iowa.
And Ellerson Smith's still on the board too, by the way.
I like Ellerson Smith. I got a crush on that guy. I love his length and I love his production at a small school. If you're an FCS guy, you better dominate at that level, and he did. And I thought he showed really well at the Senior Bowl. He's not a guy you want to start right away, but you stick him behind. You stick him behind JPP and Shaq Barrett for a year and let him develop and
seems like the Bucs type, right? Physical and athletic. Yes. That's what they said.
And long. He's built like Jason Pierre-Paul in terms of his long arms, long body frame.
Yeah. If people get a chance to go look, you sent me, Scott, like the before and after what he looked like when he got to Northern Iowa.
He was a wide receiver. Coming out of high school.
I mean, the dude is a string bean and blew up. Now he looks like a bodybuilder.
I don't know and I don't know who the weight and the strength and conditioning coach is at Northern Iowa, but that guy's elite because the before and after pictures of both Spencer Brown, the offensive tackle, and Ellerson Smith, the defensive end, are stunning from freshman year to senior.
Yeah, absolutely crazy to see those guys for sure. So. So we've got some edge guys on the board that we like. We've got some interior defensive tackle or defensive linemen that we like. Those are the positions I'm leaning toward. I mean, I'm still all about trying to find another offensive lineman even in this draft, but to me, I'm not sure that. I mean, I have my eye on David Moore for later in this.
I can see Dave Moore a little bit later. Let's go with Ellerson Smith.
All right, let's do it. It's a little bit of a reach on the PFF's board, but I don't think it's a reach in real life. I really don't. I mean, you don't test the way he tested.
Right.
People are going to see Max Crosby all over again, and they're not going to want to wait.
And the thing too is, John, is we're picking the 4th. This is the Bucs' 4th round pick we're talking about. It's actually almost a 5th round pick because it's so late, right? And they picked Anthony Nelson in the 4th round just a couple of years ago out of Iowa. Okay, so let's check out. Let's see what happened here. In round 5.
I'm updating the little tracker here at the bottom, so people just jumping into the show can keep up with where we're at. Sure. Round 4, we've got Ellerson, we've got outside linebacker Ellerson Smith. And one of the things is going to be interesting with scouting outside linebacker, Scott, that we haven't talked about a ton, is Todd Bowles going to continue to drop these guys? I mean, JPP and Shaq Barrett dropped last year at an astronomical rate. I mean, they were both over 100, I believe, 100 times they dropped back into coverage each. We can disagree with the usage as much as we want, but the reality is if that's something that they look for in their guys, then that's going to be a consideration when you talk about guys that they could draft. Be thinking about, I think, as we look at prospects. And Ellerson Smith certainly profiles as if he'd be that kind of a guy.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. All right, so we've had the 5th round here. Let's take a look at the players that were picked prior to Tampa Bay's selection.
Bucs all right, here we
176.
Go. Okay, so we've got a couple edge guys off the board. I know some people want me to look at tackle. I'll look at tackle in a second here. Ellerson Smith. Oh, wow, one of the best names in the draft. Ratchet Wild Goose came off the board right after prime opportunity.
There's Jamin Davis going to the
right after we said that.
Khalil Herbert, running back.
Alaric Jackson. So there's another tackle. I didn't look at the tackles, by the way, because I know it's pretty lean right now. Tommy Tremble coming off the board. I know some people, a tight end, a blocker, maybe. Darius Stills, Bucs have met with him. He goes off the board at 160 to the Cardinals. Charles Snowden, the guy you like.
He's so undersized.
He is. Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being an undrafted free agent. But he could make it. He's a hustle guy. He's tough.
Right.
Dante Smith, a former crush. Now after that athletic testing was pretty abysmal, we've moved on a little bit. Everybody expected him to do a little better.
I did, yeah.
Okay, here we are at 176, and I didn't notice a ton of D tackles coming off the board. And really, this is I would love to. I mean, Bobby Brown's still on the board here, and this is even for PFF. This is a fall. I mean, look, he's 136. Yeah. So this is why I like these simulations, because every year in the draft, a couple people fall that you never expect.
No doubt about it. All right.
Just so happens that Bobby Brown is in this one.
Let's also take a look at tight end real quick. I want to see if one of my players
draft crushes.
Yeah.
Who are we looking for here? Trey McKitty? I like Trey McKitty.
I'm looking for the Ole Miss tight end, Kenny.
Oh, he's still on the board.
Right. So, he's undersized.
There's a hive for him, man. There are people that really like him. I haven't watched him yet.
Kenny Yeboah, that's a player that is still in the mix, and I think maybe we think about that a little bit later on. How about Derek Barnes, John?
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he's still on the board. Okay. I just don't think you're going to get him this late in the draft.
Yeah,
I think that they've got to.
We're just gaming
the system that too.
Right. All right, I'm thinking Bobby Brown. I think it's my prerogative to draft Bobby Brown. John.
Yeah,
that's a reference you're not getting because you're not as old as I am. But
I was going to say I'm probably missing.
I'm just saying every little step I take is leading me closer to Bobby Brown with the Bucs.
I know that's the name of a song, man, but that's
fifth round pick.
Yeah, you need Mark on this show for that one.
Well, I'm not sure if Mark would necessarily get that. I don't know how well versed he was in Bobby Brown in New Edition, but
no, maybe not.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going Bobby Brown here.
I think so. That's
okay. You don't think it's a reach? I don't know if I mean, sorry, not a reach. You don't think it's like game in the system too much? You think he could be available around 5?
I think he could, just because he's coming out as a junior. I think he probably. I think when you look at his
production's bad.
Yeah.
But he's got the tools.
He does have the tools. He's got the body. He's one of the guys that Warren Sapp really likes as a defensive tackle. Came out as a junior, 5.5 sacks. He actually had half a sack the previous year. 7.5 tackles for loss. No forced fumbles. No fumble recoveries. 1 pass deflection. He's just a big body in there. 6'4", 325. He's got some athleticism. Kind of a bull in the china shop right now, John, but you stick him behind Ndamukong Suh and you put him in the mix. And I think at the very least, we talked about this, John, trying to find maybe an eventual replacement for Will Golston, not just Ndamukong Suh. He's a guy that maybe can play a couple of positions for you. So
right. No, I agree with you. I think that he's definitely somebody I think the Bucs could take. I mean, That to me is not a stretch to see the Bucs taking him, even if it's earlier in the draft. I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility.
So if you look at these positions here, right, we're addressing cornerback, right? Because that you've got Carlton Davis entering a contract year, Jamel Dean and Sean Murphy Bunting are 2 years away from really a year away from that contract year. It'll be not this coming year, but the year prior, or I'm sorry, the year afterwards. Quinn Miners certainly is a player that can play guard and center, and they might have an immediate need there if Ryan Jensen and or Alex Kappa are not on the roster after 2021.
Yeah.
Michael Carter helps a running back position that will see Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones also come up off their contracts at the end of this year. Ellerson Smith is that in the tank, in the lab, in the hopper pass rusher that can
We've
be
got two high upside defensive line picks, Scott, on day 3 of this
I think
draft.
so. They're developmental guys, but that's what the Bucs are looking for this year.
This is the best mock we've done this year.
Yeah.
Just on the spot. I don't even know. We might have gamed the system a little bit for Bobby Brown, but other than that, I really don't think we did.
Right. Okay, so we've had some picks now in the 6th round. Let's take a look at those picks, John.
All right, here we go. Let's scroll through here real quick and see who's been selected since the Bucs last pick. Let's see, Bucs are down here.
Right there.
Bobby Brown. Okay, so Kylan Hill.
Yep.
Kyrus Tonga is off the board.
Off the board. So we did the right thing by getting the defensive tackle, John.
Right, I agree. The run happened. Robert Hainsey is the other guy I actually would have considered. I've seen a little bit of him and like him. Brandon Thorne really likes Robert Hainsey. I don't think he'll be available this late, but we'll see. I don't know.
Right.
Janarius Robinson is another one I would have considered on day 3 of the draft. Jonathan Adams is a wide receiver. We talked about him. That would have been a great round 6 pick if it would have gotten to that point.
No doubt about it.
A couple quarterbacks coming off the board. By the way, for those wondering, we haven't looked at quarterbacks seriously in this mock because
Chauncey Golston's off the board. Okay, that's another guy that we would have considered in the 6th round.
Right. Kuntz maybe too from Buffalo.
David Moore, the guard from Grambling, is off the board as well.
Yeah. And John Bates, the tight end. I like him a little bit from Boise State. But we don't know how to feel about quarterback. I mean, we could consider a quarterback in this range of the draft, but honestly, I personally don't even I would just rather prioritize. And I'm writing about this actually for Bucs briefing tomorrow. So if you're wondering my position on quarterbacks, I actually won't say anything now. I'll just say, check out my column on Bucs briefing tomorrow. Right. I offer an argument for why the Bucs shouldn't draft a quarterback at all at any point in the draft. And it's my perspective. You can look over some of the data in there and you can, fans, you can make up your minds about how you feel about that. But that's my thought process on it. Offensive tackle some people want us to look at offensive tackle in this mock. And there are still a few guys on the board. I haven't watched Brendan James yet, but Brandon Thorne messaged me this morning and he said, dude, Nebraska tackle Brendan James, got to watch him. Now he's undersized. That does not, to me, strike. The Bucs have not prioritized a lot of undersized guys on their offensive line. I don't know that it would be a fit necessarily just based off that. Teams really tend to stick to MOs in their drafting at certain positions. And the Bucs have drafted pretty much all big dudes or signed pretty much all big dudes on the line. Stinney's probably the smallest dude, and he obviously wasn't like a priority pickup for them.
Exactly. So we're looking at this now, and one of the guys that we've crushed on, John, is still there. Derek Barnes. Can we check and see Barnes's availability?
he is. I'm sure he's still there, but there's no way he's going to be there in the draft. Let me take tackles out of here, but there's no way he's going to be there in the draft. So now I feel like we're really trying to game the system if we select him here.
Well, sorry, we're playing by the rules that were given to us, John. So
that's right. This is not going up as an article. This is not content. There he is, 298. He's not going to be drafted.
He's not going to be there. He's going to be drafted before that. We were considering him in the 3rd round, John. Right?
I don't think he makes it out of the top 100. I would not be surprised at all if he was drafted in the top 50. I mean, a little bit of what I've heard there, a little bit of just watching him. I mean, and then seeing his testing, he tested great. First year really playing he played in high school. So, he's played off ball linebacker before, but I don't know how you watch his tape and watch Zaven Collins' tape and come away with
Barnes
thinking
is
that Zaven
player.
Collins. Yeah, I don't know how you.
In my opinion, he's the better player, and he's actually a better scheme fit for the Buccaneers because he has the speed that Collins doesn't really have, and I think that he is the eventual replacement. If we take him, he's the eventual replacement for Levante David.
It would be interesting because it's so hard to say this guy could step in. Levante David covers in man coverage more than any other linebacker. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And Barnes neither is Collins, but neither Barnes nor Collins are like ever in man coverage in college. Right. They aren't versatile like that. So I don't know if I ever see Barnes' ceiling being what Levante David is. Just to give, I know that's not what you're saying. I'm just to clarify for fans.
Right.
I don't know that I see him as, if you're saying, oh, this guy could step into Levante David's role right now, it would be
he can step into Levante David's role, but not Levante David's shoes.
Right. You would have to change some things that Levante David does in order to help Barnes survive.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's just a little. I think we would be gaming the system if we took him here, right?
Well, I mean, again, we're
you just want to come away with
playing by the rules. Yeah, we're playing by the rules that are given to us, John.
All right. I mean, you want to take them?
Well, either that or we take like an Isaiah McDuffie later, if that's more realistic.
Okay. All right. I would be down for that too. I would like to look at just the weapons in this class. By the way, Whop Fillier, I had name. Dude tested absolutely horrible though. And I am crushed, let me tell you. I really wanted to write up. I wanted to write a Bucs 7th round sleeper picks or and just put Whop in there, just have a whole like section of an article just for his name.
We're looking at wide receivers right now, right?
Yeah, wide receivers, and I'm going to be on this.
Josh, right there.
Imitor
Bebe.
That's right. Sure,
that's the guy.
Yeah, he's just highly athletic.
But he can make some crazy good catches too.
Yeah, he does. He has that circus catchability. Now I'm trying to remember, see if Pro Football Focus has anything written here, but. And this is probably being too slow to come up, but I think there was some character stuff with him maybe at some point, and maybe that pushed him down the board. But again, this is definitely a guy who fits the Bucs MO at the wide receiver position.
Certainly does.
Size and speed.
When you look at his junior season, right? His junior season, 33 catches, 634 yards, a 19.2 yard average, right? That screams Bruce Arians, and caught 9 touchdowns. And that was in 2019. So he comes back last year, a little bit more of a marked man, 22 catches, 297 yards in just 7 games, a 13.5 yard average, 3 touchdowns. But, he's a player that has some size and speed. I mean, he's that traits guy you're looking for on day 3. Can help you out on special teams too. 6'2", 220, and can run in the 4.4s, John?
Yes, absolutely. He ran very well, I believe, at their pro day. Jumped unbelievable. I mean, he's one of the best vertical jumps of any prospect ever. So,
crazy
limitless potential.
Yeah. So you're thinking day 3. I would not be sad at all if we got Josh.
Okay. You think that? I think that's the most realistic.
Let's do it.
Right?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Okay. We'll keep it. We'll keep it more realistic.
Keep it more realistic. Yes.
Oh man, we got the board coming down here to the latter stages of what are round 7 now. So the Bucs, Mr. Irrelevant. So we've got 2 picks here.
Jones, 2 picks. Patrick Jones still on the board. Wow.
Oh, I would not be surprised if Patrick Jones falls. His athletic testing was bad, and his tape left a lot to be desired.
Well, and the thing too is when you look at that Pittsburgh defensive line, right? It's really more the whole rather than the sum of the parts, right? In terms of that, because it was Jalen Twyman and Patrick Jones and Rashad Weaver all helping each other and creating action for each other. But I think if you take each one of those players and put them on their own and look at them just in a vacuum, I'm not impressed with any of them. But for a college defensive line, that's a pretty good grouping. Let's see the tight end. Let's see if
I was just checking linebackers to see. There's Isaiah McDuffie and
right.
Grant Stewart. We've done some Grant Stewart.
All right, and we've all said that we believe that a day 3 linebacker is probably in the mix for special teams right now. John, inside linebacker, Bucs only have 3 on the roster. Right, they've got Devin White, Levante David, and Kevin Minter. So they drafted Chappelle Russell last year. He made the team, but they ended up cutting him. And so right now they haven't re-signed Jack Sitchie. And why would they? He's kind of Mr. Last.
Right.
So the tight end, so
not much left at tight end either.
Not much left at tight end.
Noah Gray's intriguing, but
Yeah.
again, I'm not sure that they would take him there.
Yeah.
I think linebacker makes a lot of sense here. I looked at offensive line. There's not a whole lot left there. I don't know if we're.
What about cornerback? Let's just see.
You want to check again?
Special teams, yeah.
Double dip at corner, just shock people. Brian Mills is a potential fit. Now he didn't test very well, I don't think.
Yeah,
but
he did. Yeah.
Big guy, length, smaller school. Could be honestly kind of looks a little bit like Ryan Smith. That could be like a special teams type of guy for sure with his size and had a good Senior Bowl. Decent Senior Bowl, I should say. So
I say, and then what about quarterback? What do they have?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's cap this thing off with a little sizzle and just Sam Ehlinger and Ian Book. not great fits.
Ian Book is too small. Ehlinger not weak arm strength. To push the ball down the field there. Running back. Let's see again. Maybe there's a kick return guy.
Yeah, it's true.
I saw Elijah Mitchell on there, but I don't think he's the guy.
Yeah, Jamar Jefferson just tested very poorly. I think I know some people asked about him.
Raheem Boyd's got a little bit of splash to him.
I haven't watched him at all. Raheem Boyd, decent grading for PFF. I don't know. You think linebacker?
Well, yeah, let's definitely take McDuffie.
And then we've got another decision to make here in a couple picks because we got Mr. Irrelevant in this draft. Who is it going to be? Jason Light. You take a kicker. There goes Elijah Mitchell. The tight end and Bushman.
Right.
Patrick Jones did finally come off the board. He is drafted.
Yep. And I don't think he's going to be lasting till the 7th round.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's probably too far.
So we're gonna stay with some rational thinking here. If we're not going to take Derek Barnes, we're not going to take Patrick Jones. That we're going to keep it as realistic as possible. Let's look at a defensive line.
Okay. Defensive line here. All right.
Again, I'm thinking
Kobe Whiteside's the only guy left on PFF Simulator.
Right. How about offensive line? Let's take a look at offensive line.
All right. Let's do it. Offensive tackle and interior offensive line too.
Okay.
Carson Green, Tommy Doyle from Miami, Ohio, Tommy Kramer from Notre Dame, Josh Ball, Jimmy Morrissey, tough guy, and another snapper.
Yeah.
That might be it, Scott.
I'm surprised that Harry Kreider's not there from Indiana.
Yeah. He's not here. I wonder if he's even in there. Royce Newman. Let's see. I mean, Jimmy Morrissey, tough guy. Did good people rave about Jimmy Morrissey at Pitt? They rave. I'm not a Pitt fan, by the way, if people were wondering. But people rave about Jimmy Morrissey, tough guy. At this point in the draft, you might be willing to go for an undersized guy. I mean, I know I said what I said earlier, but later in the draft, you overlook those kind of things maybe at some point. They need another snapper. I mean, maybe that's Miners, obviously.
Well, and the thing, too, is that they still have John Molchon in the mix there.
They think he can snap?
Possibly. How about safety? Let's take a look at safety. Again, I'm thinking special teams.
I just pulled it up. I think I'd be lying if I said I was real familiar with any of these dudes left. Marcus Murphy, I haven't seen. Brady Breeze, tough dude for Oregon. Hitter, just small, and I don't know. I don't know that he's athletic.
Is there a way we can trade this pick for a 6th round pick in 2022, John?
We have 0 trade offers, but we can propose a trade offer. We haven't done that yet.
Let's do it.
Who do we want to? All right, we're going to propose a trade offer to. Who are we going to propose it to? The Rams?
Now, here's the thing. We're going to piss off so many people by letting them know we could have done all these trades.
That's right. That's right. The whole time, by the way, we've been holding on to this trump card with the trades.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just to fit this in an hour podcast and trying to do trades and stuff would have been just too much. Oh, yeah. So let's see if we can just trade that.
Let's trade with the Saints. Let's take the Saints. Let's take the Saints. Let's trade. What are we trading here? 259. Let's trade 259 for the Saints 2022 first rounder. Force this trade. Force trade. Trade accepted. Done.
Jason Light,
the greatest draft ever.
Fleeces Mickey Loomis.
So, PFF does not like our draft at all. C plus. Basically, if you don't draft a quarterback, PFF says, "Oh, we don't like your draft."
Yeah, and you know what? In my opinion, that's about how I feel about PFF. I give them a C. I think they've got some worthwhile grades, and I think other times I don't see
4 C pluses in a row. Then Bobby Brown. And Josh Emmett. Okay, all right. So we got some good grades on our late picks, B pluses. This was a great draft and capped off obviously by getting that 2022 first rounder from the from the Saints for Mr. Irrelevant. I mean, it is Mr. Irrelevant. You got to value that, I think, appropriately. I'll update this list for anybody tuning in, this grouping that we had for but yeah, I mean, I think it's a good class. I mean, I think we did a good job. We filled, quote unquote future needs at positions, and that matters.
And let's not forget, I mean, the 2017 draft was kind of poo-pooed by a lot of media types, right? Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Ronald Jones, well, I mean, Jordan Whitehead. That draft was a key foundational draft for the Super Bowl run, and I mean, you get your starting shutdown cornerback. You have your leading rusher in that draft. You've got Vita Vea, who was an absolute force when on the field, and then Jordan Whitehead, who was a big time starter at strong safety. Not a guy that has got Pro Bowl potential in my opinion, but a solid guy that made an absolutely clutch play in that NFC Championship game, cost him his shoulder. But a big time hit on the Packers running back Aaron Jones forced a fumble that was recovered by Devin White. So, and I remember too, Devin White. We were the first ones to kind of sing his praises, and even after the Bucs drafted Devin White fifth overall, there were still a lot of media draft pundits out there, John, that were kind of nixing the Bucs drafting of. Gosh, they passed on Josh Allen, the edge rusher from Kentucky, for an off-the-ball linebacker. You don't draft an off-the-ball linebacker. Come on, John. Not the fifth overall pick. Well, Devin White's a pretty special player.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and it comes down to drafting, the best players, and that's what I think. Yeah. And I also had Josh Allen a little bit higher on my board than Devin White, but I didn't disagree with the pick at all from the Bucs perspective. I mean, I was hopeful about Shaq Barrett. And Jason Pierre-Paul was already there, and so it was to me that pick made sense. That was a totally fine pick in my opinion. Yeah. Even though I think off-ball linebacker typically, but when you get a guy that could do everything on 3 downs, hypothetically, you take that guy and try to develop him, and it's obviously worked out. And we didn't hear a peep about Josh Allen last year, the Jaguars outside linebacker. So I have to look and see how he did. I have not watched him at all. Yeah. Just to recap this draft, then, okay, as you can see there at the bottom of the screen who we kind of took. Round 1, we had a conundrum. We were looking at a running back. Travis Etienne was still on the board, or the best player available at another position. This one's definitely on me if you don't like Greg Newsome for whatever reason. But I've watched a lot of Greg Newsome recently, and I really am a fan of his tape, ability to play press man, but also off coverage. The Bucs have met with them. I love flooding the cornerback position. I love being deep at the cornerback position. I don't think – although I like Sean Murphy-Bunting, I liked him pre-draft, and I think Jamel Dean is superseded what I thought he would be already in the NFL. Neither guy has found consistency yet. I don't know that if they struggled this season, you would say we're definitely starting them next season. There's also no CB4 right now in Tampa Bay.
They talked about Herb Miller, but the thing is, you throw a guy with the talent of Greg Newsome in the mix, the cream's going to rise to the top.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think he can play inside too.
Yeah, it's either going to push SMB and Dean, towards greatness, or it's going to push one of those guys to the bench, and that's okay because if you have a guy with the caliber of one of those two as your third or fourth corner, that's not a bad thing. I mean. If Greg Newsome is that good. So, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. And I know some people are cheering quarterback, but check out my article tomorrow, Bucs Briefing. I think you're going to find that going quarterbacks in rounds 5 through 7, actually after like the 40th pick in the draft, has been a pretty fruitless exercise for teams down the road. So that's why we kind of avoided
my opinion on this, John. Free agent quarterback. I don't care if it's Aaron Rodgers or if it's BA calling Andrew Luck out of retirement. I mean, I've had enough of the rookie quarterbacks in Tampa.
If you're not getting a top tier guy as a rookie quarterback, it's a waste. It's a waste. Quinn Miners in the round 2. I just love it. I think it's a Bucs fit all over the place. And I think there's a chance he's still there in that range. It's crazy how we've gone with Quinn Miners. For the first time we're like, I mean, you can get him right after the senior board. You can probably get him round 4. I think like his stock's moving up, but I mean, you're still talking about a D3 lineman. Now we're talking about high after that athletic testing. And so I love Quinn Miners. I think it's a perfect fit. Bucs fans know about him, I think, at this point to a degree. But I love the fit of him in round 2. I think it would be that'd be a home run start to the draft. And then to come back and get Michael Carter, who can protect, catch, and run the ball in round 3. Right. And I think there's a chance Carter's actually there. Again, a small running back who didn't run well. That might not matter to us, but I think it'll matter to teams when they see the combination of those two things. I think he ran fine. I shouldn't say he didn't run well. He ran fine, but probably a 4.6, a good 4.6 number at the
had a really good Senior Bowl. Showed he can pass protect and all that. So I think right now that's day one and day two, and I think the stock for the Buccaneers right now is going up with the addition of those guys. How high could it go? They're already Super Bowl champions. I think these three guys help the Buccaneers. And before we get to our day three guys, John, I would certainly be remiss if I didn't talk about our good friends at Symbol. And the reason why I say Symbol is because when you take the stock market for sports and you allow you to trade sports teams like stocks and earn cash payouts when your team wins, well, that's Symbol. Symbol has blended sports and the stock market to offer you a new way to invest in and profit off your favorite teams. Use your sports knowledge to buy low, sell high, earn cash payouts when your team wins. Join the over 2,500 early adopters, including myself, who have started to invest in their favorite teams. The stock market for sports is just a tap away. Create a free account in seconds. Start profiting from your sports knowledge. You see, the price of the Bucs franchise is actually fallen just a bit to $43. It was at $44 last week. $43, and you can go to symbol.app/Pewter Report. Get a $10 bonus when you sign up at Symbol. So we appreciate Symbol for their sponsorship of not just the Pewter Report podcast, but also the Bucs Monday mailbag on pewterreport.com. So here we are again. We start up.
I do want to address Nathan's comment.
Okay.
If it's not a top tier guy, wasn't Winston a top tier guy? LOL. This is just because I say if it's not a top tier guy, you don't want to take him as a quarterback, doesn't mean if it's a top tier guy, take him as a quarterback. It does. One doesn't mean the other. It just means if it's not a top tier guy, your chances of finding a franchise quarterback are very low. It doesn't mean if you take a top tier guy, your chances are great. They're obviously better. Right. Statistics will show you that in a second. But it doesn't mean that it's a good idea still. Yeah. But, not all five of the guys in this class that are going to go top 10, top 15 are going to hit in the NFL. Right. That's just it's very unlikely to happen. Yeah. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen for every top tier guy. It just means if it isn't a top tier guy,
Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, Dak Prescott, they're the outliers.
That's right.
They're the rare gems.
They are the three franchise guys taken after pick 40 over the last 20 years. That's a long time.
Exactly.
To bet on a 5% chance taking quarterbacks after top pick 40. So that's my perspective on it. Okay, so we come back in round 4, and your guy Ellerson Smith. What do you like about him, Scott?
I like the length. I like the fact that he is a hustler. This is a guy who's a high motor player, and he's got a lot of the traits and intangibles that you look for along the outside of your defensive line. I think he can be a stand-up outside linebacker. I think he can put his hand down and rush from a 3-point stance. And listen, he didn't have a year last year because of COVID. FCS by and large was canceled. But you look at that tape, 14 sacks. And I like the fact that the ball comes out. He had a great game against Iowa State, against FCS competition. Iowa State was a bowl team, and he actually had the game-winning sack. It's a huge upset when Iowa State beat Iowa 2 years ago. So I like him. I think he's a developmental guy you put in the hopper. And then we stay along that defensive line, John, with Bobby Brown from Texas A&M, a guy that Warren Sapp likes. Actually, Sapp likes both of these guys. He sees the traits and potentials there as day 3 guys, which is where we're taking them.
Yep.
But you put another big-bodied defensive tackle in the hopper, rare size, 6'4", 325, and he can move around. He's a little bit of a dancing bear, and 5.5 sacks, really just 1 year of quality production. So you're taking a chance on him coming out as a junior, but I like the size, the ability, and you stick him behind Ndamukong Suh for a year and Vita Vea, and he gives you position versatility. He can play the nose as a backup. He can play the 3-tech, and I think that he's a Todd Bowles defensive tackle.
Yeah, he is. Size-wise, athleticism-wise, upside, those are the kind of, I think the Bucs will look for upside in this draft pretty heavily. They'll be trying to find guys that can contribute down the road for this team. He definitely has that. So if he's available in round 5, I'd be shocked if they pass on him. Honestly, I could see him being the round 4 pick too. It's really hard to know how day 3 is going to play out for everybody, in a draft like this, especially. But he's definitely, I definitely see him as one of the few defensive tackles in this class that I would say, okay, Bucs fit. Like I can see that making sense for the Bucs, and he's one of those guys. Another thing that makes sense, this for Bucs fans, Scott, is a little thing we like to call Playbook Products. That's this unbelievable company, and that is a proud sponsor of the Peter Report podcast, that makes mugs and coasters with epic plays for your team's history on them. You can see this one I just got is the Scotty Miller touchdown before halftime against Green Bay. They got the score on there. They got the down, the distance, the time on the clock. They've got everything on the final score of the game, where the game was. Unbelievable mug. And then I just got these. We got some coasters that are made here. I'll show people.
Check those out.
Yeah, check out these felt bottoms here. They're just so
quality.
well made. Yeah, their quality is great. And then you can see the play design. You might not be able to see on my screen as well. Yep. On the coaster, I think this is the second Rob Gronkowski touchdown. Just awesome stuff to have. You go over to playbookproducts.com and check out their website. If you're a Bucs fan, if you're a fan of another team, or you know somebody who's a fan of another team, they've got all kinds of teams in there. Just check out their site. Look for great products, great gifts to give people. It really is. It's an awesome store, and I'm not surprised because I've loved dealing with them, but it's just great quality. It's well done. I've just really enjoyed the products. I think that they're great, and they go perfect in the man cave or whatever that you have for your Buck stuff, or whatever your other favorite teams are. Playbookproducts.com, definitely something you need to check out.
Yep. Well, we're checking out wide receiver because the Bucs just love to draft wide receivers on day 3, John. It goes all the way back to Jason Light's first draft. It wasn't just drafting Mike Evans in the first round, John, in 2014. No, it was also Robert Herron in round 7 from Wyoming. So Jason Light has had a history of drafting day 3 wide receivers. Remember Justin Watson a couple years ago in the 5th round, Scotty Miller in the 6th round. So it makes sense for Illinois' Josh Imatorbhebhe. This is a guy, 6'2", 220 pounds, can jump out of the gym. What does he have, a 42.5-inch vertical?
I think it was higher than that.
44-inch.
I think it was I know he jumped like 46 inches at his training, and like their training.
Maybe I don't know, it's a 45-inch vertical. It's insane. And this is a guy, again, at 6'2", he's got plenty of size already. But I think that this is a player, when you look at the ability to get deep with his speed, 19.2 yard average, 33 catches, 634 yards. Illinois was not really a juggernaut by any means offensively, 9 touchdowns. So you got some production there. You got some valuable traits to work with, especially when you're looking for a guy on day 3, John. He's got to play in special teams, right? So this is a guy you're trying to get somebody running downfield, covering kicks and punts. He's got the size to do it. He's got the speed to get down there. And you put him in the hopper. He's a developmental player. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a poor man's Brashard Perriman.
Exactly right.
Career.
And honestly, if you're taking him in round 1, I'm freaking out. If you're taking a guy in round 6, you want him to have those kind of traits. Hardly any of these guys make it anyway. At least bet on guys with upside. And if you think he's coachable character-wise and all those kinds of things, then bet on those types of players, size, speed, freaks, and he had, by the way, a 46-inch vertical at his pro day, I believe. And then 40, there was video of him going as high as 47.5 during his training. So he is an unbelievable leaper at the very least. Then Isaiah McDuffie in round 7, a linebacker for the future for this team. You like Isaiah McDuffie. You've talked about him a little bit as a potential late pick for the Bucs.
Yeah, you're looking at speed here, and he's a little bit undersized, 6'1", about 226 pounds, but he's got speed, and he can also rush the passer as a blitzer. And that's one thing that if you're an inside linebacker and you're playing for Todd Bowles, you need to be able to blitz. And we saw what Devin White did this past year with 9 sacks. We know Levante David, when not asked to cover, because that's, in this defense, it's almost like Derek Brooks was, John, in that Tampa 2 under Monty Kiffin. He's just almost too valuable in coverage to blitz him, right? That's why Derek Brooks didn't have a lot of sack totals. Yeah. He actually had more interceptions in his career than sacks, which is kind of crazy for a linebacker, but that's kind of how Levante David is being used in Todd Bowles' scheme. But this guy, 8.5 sacks over his career. He did have an interception. He had 3 pass breakups, a fumble recovery, 15.5 career tackles for loss, but he is a speed guy, a 4.5 linebacker, and he'll help you on special teams as he develops as, maybe a guy that you think of as an eventual replacement for Levante David, probably not as a 7th rounder, but you never know. But he's going to help you immediately in special teams, which is where they need help. And they need a 4th inside linebacker. They only have 3 right now, John.
Right. Yep. And we traded the round 7 pick, the last one of the draft, for the Saints 2022 first rounder. Just hate to fleece the Saints like that going out, man, but some things just got to happen. I mean, it's just,
sorry.
That's right.
Just hate the Saints.
That's right. Jack Barrett says Hainsey from Notre Dame is a replacement for Kappa. He was there. I believe he's talking about early day 3. I think he was there, and he was a good consideration. I think he was on the board when Bobby Brown was there. Feel like if you're the Bucs, you got to come away with a little bit of D tackle help in this draft. Right. I know I'm all about waiting on it. I've already written that. Like, don't take one early. Wait on the D tackle class, but think you can find somebody who can play in day 3 even a little bit. They just don't have a lot of depth right now at D tackle.
No, they don't.
But I don't want to pass on other guys for need, but Hainsey is somebody that I'd consider, and I'll be writing about and watching him in the coming weeks as well. Somebody asked, would Barnes replace Levante David eventually or back him up? And so we did talk about that, but it would just be a matter of getting depth on the field. I think right now for the Bucs, they need that at linebacker a little bit. Obviously, Minder's going to be your first guy off the bench. So if they took a linebacker, it would be very much a future type of pick. Right. But 2 more years for David. But over the next 2 years, David and White probably are not coming off the field at all, really, unless they're hurt, which is a possibility. So that's why it's hard. There are very few linebackers who play every single snap. Right. And, 2 of them on the same team. Yeah. And
all right, Liam, we're going to get to your Kellen Mond fetish here. No, the answer is no. They're not drafting me at 32, nor should they. Absolutely not. So, no, can't do it. I like Kellen Mond, I really do. But again, I know the odds. 3rd round is probably the highest.
Yes, right? I agree. I don't think 3rd round, late, maybe. I don't think
he's an ideal fit in Tampa. I think out of the quarterbacks past round 1, I think he's a guy that would be maybe a fit, but he's not.
He might be the best. There's gone, the top 5 gone. He might be the guy that's best out of those that are still remaining, but I don't know that I would call it a great chance of hitting for sure. So
no, and I'll tell you what, if you read the last SR's Fab 5, you've already seen the highlight video of Phil Jerkovic from Boston College, who
that's your guy next year
should be the Bucs' next quarterback, Tom Brady's heir apparent, replacing Brady down the road. Phil Jerkovic, he's phenomenal. I call him the jerk, but
another story for another time.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I mean, he's a big-bodied pocket passer, strong-armed player. Watch the highlight film. Check out the SR's Fab 5, and take a look at him. 6'5". He started off at Notre Dame, ended up at Boston College. He's a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania guy. John, 6'5", 226, 17 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's the guy I'd rather see them wait to make a play for than get him this year.
Yeah. Where's Derek Barnes getting drafted? Last question we'll take. I think he's getting drafted in the 2nd round. That would be my guess. Don't think he gets out of the top 100, but we'll see. Not a lot of buzz about him right now in the media circles, but I think the NFL may be a little bit higher. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Listen, we're in April. That means the draft talk is in full swing. If you've just joined us on the Pewter Report podcast for this Monday, we appreciate it. Make sure that you go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're almost at 4,000. So if you haven't done it yet, help us get to 4,000 and plus.
By the draft. We'd love to get to 4K by the draft.
No doubt about it. So it's youtube.com and then type in Pewter Report TV and then click the subscribe button. Also click notifications. That way you'll get a notification every time we come on. And no Monday show would be complete, John, without our good friends.
Dun, 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 dun.
Manscaped. Okay. So please allow me a minute or two to tell you about the fantastic products that our good friends over at Manscaped have. First of all, we're going to pop this banner up right here because this is what they call the money right here. This is where you get 20% off if you're using Manscaped. So the thing I want to tell you, John, is it's April. Flowers are blooming. The grass is growing. It's time to chop the weeds. Thanks to our sponsor, Manscaped, you can trim your holes safely and efficiently. I am talking about ball trimmers. Manscaped, the global leaders in men's below-the-waist grooming, have an exclusive offer for our PewterReport.com audience. Use the promo code Pewter. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Join the other 2 million men who trust Manscaped, like the Pewter Report staff. They are here to make sure that you're trimming and smelling nice. After all, it's time for some spring cleaning. Spring has sprung, and Manscaped has the best tools to get you ready. Manscaped, the global leaders in men's below-the-waist grooming, have forever changed the grooming game with their amazing products. They are here to help with your above-the-waist holes, too. Have you heard of the Weed Whacker, the nose hair trimmer that provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent nicks, snags, tugs in those delicate holes? No more gross nose hairs flying in the wind. The premium Manscaped Weed Whacker uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. Manscaped is making whacking your weeds a time to look forward to delivering maximum confidence while improving hygiene. Speaking of incredible hygiene, Manscaped has formulations to help keep you fresh and ready for everything that comes your way all day. This is the Crop Preserver right here. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. It's starting to get hot outside. This is crucial so your balls stop sticking to your leg. And that's the legit worst. So make sure you get some of this. You also find the Crop Reviver. This is spray-on toner for your balls, which will keep you smelling fresh down there, just like spring flowers. Speaking of smelling fresh, complete your grooming game this spring with the new refined cologne. It's a signature scent by Manscaped. This stuff is legit and will have you smelling like royalty. The cologne is light, it's approachable, it's gentlemanly in all the right ways, and you'll be the talk of the next. Quarantine hang. Smell good, feel good this spring. Get 20% off plus free shipping by using the promo code Pewter at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor. Always use the right tools for the job. 20% off plus free shipping and the promo code Pewter, manscaped.com. And we do have some more of these shirts, John. These have been a big hit. We're talking about the pewterreport.com t-shirts. We have them in white and gray and black. If you want one of these, all you have to do is join the Manscaped promotion, take advantage of it, make a purchase. Email me your proof of purchase. No, there's not going to be any transactional information on there. Your credit card number is safe. That's yours. All I need is just your address. So make sure you send that over to me at sr@pewterreport.com, and then tell me what size and what color you want. We'll send you a free pewterreport.com t-shirt.
Sounds good. Tomorrow on the podcast, Scott, Cameron Brate will be making his appearance 4 p.m. Eastern on the
Super
podcast.
Bowl champion.
That's right.
Cameron Brate.
Super Bowl champion Cameron Brate. And then on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, Dane Brugler from The Athletic. The day that his draft guide, The Beast, drops on The Athletic, he will be coming on this show that night to talk about his draft guide and also to tell us all you want to know about the Kellen Monds, the Jamie Newmans, the Kyle Trask, the Davis Mills. He'll be answering all those questions for us, and we'll be referring to his guide as well as he talks to us about quarterbacks in the class and where he thinks the Bucs could go at pick number 32. We'll ask him as well. So lots of good stuff coming up. And then Thursday, Scott and I are going to be talking about my defensive tackle rankings, which are going to drop sometime on Thursday. And we'll be talking about those, breaking those down. Scott will be commenting and criticizing on my rankings and what he would do a little bit differently on the D-tackle rankings. So it's all coming this week right here on another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.